When I go to craft fairs or farmers markets, one type of item I always see is decorative birdhouses. They seem to be a popular craft item for home decorations, and many living spaces have at least one sitting around. There seems to be an endless number of ways these houses can be enhanced with patterns, colors, and designs, limited only by the creativity of the maker. So I decided to make a bunch for my creative relatives to decorate and possibly to post on Etsy or Marketplace. In this video, I detail the method I used for making a basic birdhouse with minimal labor and materials. I drew up a simple set of plans to use as a starting point. For material, I used 1/4 inch by 3 inch and 4 inch poplar. The 4 inch is actually 3.5 inch wide, which is perfect for the roof, front, and back pieces. I ripped the 3 inch wide stock to 2.25 inch width for the sides and bottoms. I started out cutting the front and back pieces by setting my table saw fence to 5 inches, then clamping a 1 inch thick stop block to it. Then I cross-cut the pieces to 4 inch length. Next, I moved the rip fence with stop block to 4.25 inch and cross-cut the long side roof pieces. Finally, I moved the rip fence to 4 inch and cut short side roof pieces. The next step was cutting the roof miter and side taper on the front and back pieces. I originally planned on cutting these with my miter gauge, but decided it would be easier and safer to build 2 fixtures. So, with some 1/4 inch MDF and oak strips, I made a 45-degree fixture for the roof cut and a 12-degree one for the side cut. These cutting fixtures turned out to be well worth the extra time. Once the fronts and backs are cut, I locate 2 hole centers on the fronts using a template I printed from the drawings. These holes will be for the perch pin and entrance. I then drill out the entrance with a 5/8 Forstner bit and the hole for the perch with an 1/8 inch brad point bit. The last pieces I needed were the bottom and side pieces. To make those, I first tilted my saw blade to 12 degrees off vertical. Then I lowered the blade until it was about 3/8 of an inch high. I cut the bottom pieces by setting a stop block and flipping over the 2.25 inch stock on alternating cuts. Then I adjusted the stop block for the longer side pieces. Once I had all the pieces cut, I was ready to begin assembly. First, I took a short piece of oak block I knew to be square on all sides and wrapped it in wax paper. To glue the roof pieces together, I clamped the short piece vertically in my bench vise and at the same height as the square oak block. Then I applied some tight bond 2 along the vertical edge of the clamped roof piece and using the flush square block, placed the long roof piece in place, checking for smooth joints. Then I shot some 3/4 pins into the joint to hold it while it dried. After tacking, I wiped off any squeeze out. Next, I clamped the back wall flat on my bench. Then I clamped a sidewall to my square block. I then spread some glue on the bottom edge of the sidewall and positioned it on the back wall. I lightly clamped the side piece in place. I repeated this process with glue and the square block to attach the opposite sidewall, making sure the joints were flush and smooth. Gluing the bottom in place was easy since the sides and back formed a nice frame for it. No need for a clamp here. Finally, I added the front piece. I spread some glue on the side and bottom piece edges, then set the front piece in place. I used the roof assembly to help locate the front piece and line it up relative to the back piece. Then I held it in place with some pin nails. Once the glue was dry on the house, I used my oscillating belt sander to remove any squeeze out and to smooth the joint seams. I attached the roof to the house with glue and a V-groove fixture block I had made for drilling holes and dowels. I made sure the house was centered on the roof by using a gauge block. No pin nails here, just a clamp. After the roof dried, I added a little perch to the front, made from a piece of 1/8 inch dowel. Honestly, I was not big into making craft items, but designing and building these decorative birdhouses turned out to be an enjoyable project. Once I did it, I could see lots of ways to modify the basic design and get more creative with the finishing, including using letter decals to personalize them